Welcome. I'm Matt Leininger, and the first thing I want to do is to extend a deep and heartfelt apology for the fact that no, we are not serving alcohol beverages this evening for various legal, logistical, financial, and pedagogical reasons. But we have three presenters tonight whose presentations will be brief and intoxicating. So, Cheryl Hilvert and John Gastel and Tim Eatman are nice enough to do short takes for us tonight. And after that, of course, we'll have our usual conversations at our groups, at our tables about what we heard and what we thought. And I will do the same approach that Peter did last night of what he called hyper-minimal introductions. So the first of our three is Cheryl Hilvert, who is a former city manager in Montgomery, Ohio, now works with the International City-County Management Association, and in that role, she is the one going out to the world trying to convince all kinds of public managers, city managers, that public engagement, public deliberation is something they ought to do. So this is a difficult and intrepid role she's taken on. So please welcome Cheryl.
Thank you, Matt, and thanks to all of you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about the city manager or the local official's point of view. That really, the more I'm around all of you, the more I'm just in awe of the skills and abilities that you all have. So city managers tend to be a little more of generalists, and we know a little bit about a lot of things and not a lot about much of anything. So the fact that you guys know how to do all this stuff and do it so well, I really appreciate the opportunity and hope some of it rubs off a little bit. Matt said I could approach this with a little bit of fun, so I'm going to try to follow Josh's lead about democracy being fun, and but I also hope you'll see this as a bit of a challenge for all of us to work together, maybe a little better than what we have in the past. So like all of you, city managers, local officials really do value citizen engagement, public participation. After all, it's democracy, right? I mean, we learn all about that stuff in school, and it's really good, and for the most of us, we get into this line of work for that reason. We believe it results in better local decision making. We believe those decisions are more sustainable as a result of this work. We also believe it builds community in our towns and villages across the country. We read the books that you write. We're in awe of the skills that you have, as I said. We actually try to design our processes so that we do encourage people to come up here. It is something that we think about. We try to issue the invitation. We try to be hospitable when people come up to City Hall. But sometimes our view of engagement is a little bit different probably than yours. So. Sometimes it looks like this. And in spite of asking people to get involved in the decisions and the work that we do, sometimes they just really don't like what we're thinking about. And someday I'll tell you about the dog park I almost got fired over. The same dog park that started a fight in Starbucks. So in spite of the fact that local governments have the highest support level ratings of any level of local government, they also just don't like what we do either. Sometimes they get really, really close to the council members and they scare them. And sometimes they don't get so close, but they throw things. So one of the things they teach you in City Management 101 is how to duck under the council dais real quick. Sometimes we really irritate the old ladies too, and they really like everybody. So but we can we have a way of doing that anyway. Even the police and fire stop being heroes at some points in time. So it's folks that are used to to being looked up to by the community. Sometimes we can get crossways with them as well. We're scared of social media because we don't know what people are going to say about us, and there's a little bit of fear there. So you note I put this little picture on here. I did not include any of my screenshots of the nice social media things that I've seen through the years. Sometimes they show up at our special events too, which becomes interesting. Sometimes, in spite of all of our efforts, we just really feel like we're failing at this at the local government level. And we get leery of trying it again. And I know it's your business, it's what you do for a living, and you do it well. But sometimes we just get really nervous about it. And I guess my purpose tonight is to hope you will see that a little bit from the perspective of the people that can sometimes be the targets of these folks. It can lead elected officials to say things like, who are these people and what do they want? That was a statement that was made to me quite frequently by the mayor that sat next to me at council meetings. The scary one is when they look at you and say, whose idea was this, Mrs. Manager? And then sometimes we get to looking like this in our work, and after a council meeting, it can get to be pretty rough for some of us, and we get nervous about that, and frankly, we get a little bit frustrated because we know that engagement is an important thing for us to do. So what we'd really like for you to do is to help us understand all this stuff more. We're learning and starting to get it that 3 minutes at the microphone is not so good, and that it makes people angry and that it doesn't generate productive conversation. We really would prefer not to have conflict, even though we know that conflict is good. We just prefer not to have it. We want to learn how to work well with our communities. We want to build capacity both in our local government organizations but also in the community to do the type of work that you do. We really are well intended to do that. We need to learn from you and for you to share your approaches and techniques with the understanding that this is sometimes our view of participation, some of the pictures I just showed you. By learning from one another, we can just do better in the work that we do. This is my favorite guy. But I think we can turn some of the what you saw as anger towards local governments, I think we can turn this into a lot more positive dialogue and a conversation if, as local governments, we can learn how to deal with our citizens, deal with our business people, deal with other local governments, and really to just to help us to create people that look a little bit more like this. And we all know that Matt loves his city, and that he's an active partner in decisions and governance, right, Matt? And that he thinks his city manager is awesome. And we can also create city managers that look like this. Mike looks a little different than in that other picture, right? And Mike says, yes, I am awesome. This engagement stuff is pretty cool. And then we did make a last-minute amendment to this PowerPoint right before we went on, and that's that he wants a blue. So my big message is, let's all work together and we can accomplish a lot. So thank you.